Hey guys, today it's all about food and food photography. We're going to get deeper into food styling. Now, I've already done a video on food styling. This is part 2 of that little set. This one deals with food to style food to make our photos better so we can up our game and make more professional looking images. If that's what you're into, let's get into it. All right, the wonderful world of food styling. Now, as I said, this is part 2. I will put a link down below to the part 1 of this video, and that was dealing with all the equipment and the tools and everything we use, and the bonuses and the effects and tips and tricks and everything that goes with it. This one, though, we're looking at food to style food with. Now, I am going to give you a bit of a warning and precaution here that in the world of food photography and the world of advertising said food photography, if you are shooting, say, for Coca-Cola, then you need to use real Coke as your drink in front, because you cannot false advertise. Because the last thing you want as a consumer is to see this big, beautiful, gorgeous product and you buy it and you get nothing like it. So in the world of food photography and advertising, the food you shoot has to be the real food for that product. Now, that being said, if I've got a can of Coke in the front and I have a fake Coke in the background out of focus, that's okay because it's not the focus of it. So it's like with ice cream. If I make fake ice cream and I'm advertising for Hershey's ice cream and I've got frosting or whatever or lard as fake ice cream in an ice cream cone, you can't use that to promote that product because it is fake. It has to be a real product when you're advertising. I just wanted you guys aware of that. For doing your own portfolio work and everything else, it's fine because you're not actually advertising the food product. You're creating a portfolio piece and it's different. Now, if you're going to license it commercially for, say, Hershey's ice cream, then it actually has to be Hershey's ice cream. So I just wanted to put that out there for you because there's a lot of stuff. Pouring motor oil on pancakes and all this other wonderful stuff. I don't get into a lot of those other gimmicks. I don't get into a lot of those tricks because honestly, I find a lot of them don't work and the real product on the whole works fairly well. But that being said, warnings, precautions, and everything out of the way, let's look at food to style food. Now, when we're talking in the way of food styling, we want to look at contrasty, complementary colors. What works well with another color? Red and green, that works well. Blue and yellow, look at that. That works well. The other thing you want to look at is texture. How can we bring texture into it? So when you're styling, these are things that you want to consider. Now, when I think of the word food styling, personally, I look at it as two separate entities. One is what I call food decoration, and that would be simply enhancing the food you have. Like, look at this cheese soup. I've taken some shredded cheese and I've put a little design in the center of it. Now, that is food styling, but it's also food decorating. We're decorating the food. It's like kind of putting sprinkles on a cake. It's decorating it. It's styling, but it's decorating. The other way I look at food styling is taking the food, and I'm not adding to it. It's the way it's presented. It's the way it's arranged. So here I've got some spring rolls, and you can see how I've cut one, kind of on the bias, and I've got it set there. So I'm displaying the item a little differently. So that is another form of food styling. So you've got the way that it's presented and arranged, like plating the food almost, and then the other one is the decoration of. So you can do them separately or you combine it. So I could take the spring roll one and put maybe a little bit of herb or sauce or something with it on top to complement it. And now I've really enhanced it up. The only thing is you don't want to go overboard with it. So as I say, when I look at food styling, I look at it as two separate entities that play together and can be added together. First things we're going to look at in the world of food styling food is liquids. We've got quite a few liquids that can help us style food and make our food look a lot better. The first one we're going to talk about is simply water. How handy is that? Readily available and works great. I've shown in the first video how you can keep your herbs and other things fresh while you're getting your plate ready. But we can also use it to add some life to vegetables on our plate because it makes it look wet, it makes it look juicy, and it adds little specular highlights all over, which brings that image to life. You can also use it to create fake condensation. I've shown it in the past, but look, I got a can of orange crush drink here, and you can see it just looks dull and flat. I give it a little spritz of water, and boom, that drink now looks cold. It looks refreshing. It looks like you want to reach in and grab that can and have a nice cold drink. That was just with a little spray of water, how it impacts and changes how the image looks. So that's some ways that we can use water within food styling, adding it to make it look fresh, moist, and ready to go. Now the next liquid we're going to look at, I've talked about it in the past, glycerin. Glycerin works really, really well. It's kind of a thick, clear syrup. So if you mix glycerin 50% with water 50%, put it in a little spray bottle, spritz it on the side of your glass, boom, you have beautiful condensation. The nice thing with the glycerin is it tends to hold. It doesn't want to run down the glass because it's a little thicker than plain water. So you get a longer lasting condensation. If you spray it on your peas, vegetables, or whatever, again, you get the same look as you do with water, but you get a longer lasting. And I honestly find with the glycerin, you get little beads, little balls better than you do with water. Water just tends to flatten out and it doesn't create like little beads. So it creates beautiful specular highlights when you add glycerin and water together. Now you can use pure glycerin together if you want, but it works well when you blend it with water. The next liquid we're going to look at is beautiful, old-fashioned, pure olive oil. This stuff works great in a multitude of ways. Again, it's like the water and glycerin. You can use it to create your food to look fresh. You can simply brush it on. You could even put it in a bottle and you can spray it on. So all three work together. The nice thing with the olive oil is, look at this pasta. It's dull, matte, lifeless. It doesn't look very appetizing whatsoever. So let's take some of this pasta. We're going to put it in a bowl. We're going to add a bit of olive oil. Now, I'm adding a bit more olive oil than I normally would, and I'm simply doing that to help exaggerate the impact within this video. So I still do the trick, but not quite as much olive oil. You toss it around, I put it back on the plate, and boom, look at that. Look at the side by side of the olive oil pasta to the plain. The olive oil one looks fresh, it's glistening, it's got that beautiful specular highlight on it. So that is a great way that you can use olive oil. Another wonderful use with the olive oil, what happens if we do the same principle, but we do it on meat? So let's take this hamburger, and I'm going to use a paintbrush, and I'm just going to paint a bit of the olive oil onto the side and the front part of the burger there, and you can see the difference between the left side and the right side. Look how the left side is dull, lifeless, doesn't look very tender or juicy, but now look at the right side. You've got that glistening look to it. You've got specular highlights on it. Now I added a bit more than I normally would. I would brush it a little thinner, but it creates that moist, juicy look that makes that hamburger look a lot more appetizing once we brush a little olive oil on it. So that's just a few uses of this. And with the olive oil in the pasta loses its stickiness when it's coated. So anything that you're working with that's sticky, olive oil will help get you out of that sticky bind. All right, another liquid we're going to look at, lemon juice. This is real lemon juice. Now you can use real lemons and squeeze them for the juice, or you can simply buy a bottle like this. Now, you're asking, how can this help us style food? Well, it helps us not so much in the styling of the food, but preserving of the food so we can style the food. So if I've got bananas or apples or anything like that, and I've got it all sliced up, that stuff starts browning very quickly. And it doesn't give me much time on set to play with the food. But if I add some lemon juice to it, it now gives me a longer time to play with the food on set without it browning. It does also give the added bonus, like water and the other liquids we looked at, it gives it that moist, fresh, specular highlight look. If you don't want that though, you can simply pat it with some paper towel, take the excess off, and it'll dull it down. But added bonus to this one, it helps preserve certain foods from browning and gives you a longer playtime. The next liquid we're going to look at, and honestly, I don't use it very often, I think I maybe used it once or twice, is a gravy browning sauce. Let me just get that out of the way there. What it is, it's a small little bottle. This is one brand. There's tons of brands out there. Find whichever one you want to use. It's basically just a brown, kind of almost like a paint on some of them. And you can do exactly that with it. You can paint fake grill marks on meat with it. You can, if your meat's looking a little sad and discolored, because sometimes if meat's been sitting for a bit, it kind of gets kind of a grayish cast to it. You can use the browning gravy sauce and add a bit of browning color to it. As I say, I don't do it very often, but in a pinch, it does work. The other stuff you can do with the, who knew, with gravy browning sauce, you can make fake looking coffee with it. It looks great. You can also make it look like Coca-Cola, and that's simply just putting it in, and you add club soda to give it the bubbles and the life within the drink. So it has multiple uses. As I say, it's not a product that I really use very often, but I wanted you aware of it in helping style food, that you can create fake drinks with it, and you can also enhance the look of meats by browning it up and giving a bit of a glisten with it. Now another liquid. Oh, I know, liquid city here, but liquids are so helpful in the world of styling. So this is food, styling food, although it's liquid-based food, but it's still food. Our next liquid we're going to look at is the world of colors, and we're going to use this wonderful food coloring to help create some fake looking drinks. Now you can see here where I'm just simply glass of water, few drops of food coloring in it. I always like the way it looks when it's hitting the water. It looks so cool. But you just simply take a little stick, give it a stir, boom. I now have whatever color drink I want. So it's really handy to create fake drinks by using different food colors. The other thing you can do with food color is, if you've got, say, vanilla frosting, or you've created your own vanilla frosting, you can create any color frosting you want. You can make rainbows, you can do whatever you want. So you can use food coloring to create your own color for frostings that you're decorating the cake with. So it helps you style the food in that way, because you're actually styling the frosting. So while we're playing with liquids, let's get on to another liquid that helps us in food styling. And that is, grease over here, this one. And yeah, I like vinegar on my French fries. Vinegar, it's handy to have. It's not so much for food styling as it is for food cleanup. That burger shot, got a bit of grease on the plate. Vinegar works great at degreasing. So if I take a piece of paper towel, take a bit of vinegar, and just give the plate a bit of a wipe, I can get any of the excess grease or any drops or spills or whatever off the plate, because it works brilliant as a degreaser. Works great on glass as well, and gives you a streak-free shine. Okay, the next food that we're going to look at to help style food, and no, it's not a liquid this time. It's the world of garnishes. You have all kinds of fresh garnishes available to you. Parsley, rosemary, thyme, basil, the list goes on. It, in my opinion, is that little decoration that you add onto your food. Once you arrange your food, you can then add a little bit of parsley or sage or whatever you want to it to help impact and up your game. Because make sure you get the freshest herbs you possibly can. It'll make your image look a lot better. Now, also in the world of garnishes, I always keep a bag of chili flakes around. I can sprinkle that on pizza or various other things. I can spread a little bit on the table in front, which helps create a bit more of an organic look to it, a little messier. You also have cinnamon sticks. These ones are starting to look a little sad. I usually just kind of buy a cheap no-name because they look just as good as all the others, but handy to add into a scene. You can also crush them and grind them up to add kind of a bit of a powdery or a coarser texture. You also have your salt, some peppers, and all kinds of herbs that come pre-mixed, an Italian seasoning mix. You have dried parsley flakes. All that is in the world of garnishes. You've got your fresh herbing stuff, and you've got your dried that you can use to help up your game. So there you go, the world of food, styling food. Now most of it was liquids, but there was a few other non-liquidy type things in there, and you do have cake sprinkles and all that other wonderful world of stuff as well. But I do have one little bonus tip for you here. Instead of taking your muffin, your cupcake, and your bread and just simply cutting it straight, and it looks wonderful for a lot of times. But what happens if you want something a little more rustic. You got a bowl of stew there. Instead of having to slice up bread with it, why don't we take that bun and just rip it up with our hands? Look at how the bread looks when I rip it up and it's sitting on some wood. That gives it a rustic, organic, lot more textural feel and look to it than if I simply cut it with a knife. The same with a cupcake or a muffin. Sometimes just ripping it up and adding it into your scene gives it that homemade, organic, more of a textural look and feel to it than if you just simply cut it with a knife. So that's kind of a little bonus tip for you. Well, that's it for the basics of food styling, part 1, and this was part 2. Hopefully this will help you up your game in the world of food photography. Now, if you're new to the channel and you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe. Hit that bell notification so you're aware when I post new videos like this. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really does help me out. Thanks. So, until the next time.